Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship.
Families are being punished. When they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
All right, here we go, that magic time when the pledge drive continues and we ask for your help. And, so many of you have, and we appreciate that very, very much. And one regular viewer of Free Speech TV who lives not too far from the studio here was kind enough to come in today. He's been a very generous contributor to Free Speech TV. Craig Kellerman lives on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and Craig, thanks for stopping by.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Now, what do you like about free speech? I know you're a big fan.
I have been a huge supporter. When I first got to D.C., there, of course, was the Wall Street Journal, the main myth machine for corporate America and for Wall Street. But then there was suddenly Roger Ailes and the Fox conglomerate. And they are major myth makers, probably better than Homer. They rapidly and cannily took over the TV stations, the press, in a way that had not been envisioned by liberals. Mm-hmm. You had Rush Limbaugh. You had Fox News, and Fox News purveying itself as real news, when in fact they were making their own news. It was absolutely outrageous, and there was really no other outlet for liberal news or for news in general.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing about Free Speech TV was it was news that was also truth. It wasn't just a liberal slant. It was real news. And the first antidote, if you will, that we had to Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and it's a crucial antidote because they have, let's face it, a decade jump on us, at least a decade's jump.
Yeah, right.
They have been out there for a long time doing what we're just starting to do. And your program most admirably, but also Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman, David Pakman, wonderful, wonderful journalists who are getting the word out there. And it's a different word from Fox, principally because it's truth.
Well, that's so good of you to say, and it's great having loyal friends and supporters and viewers like you around the country. What is your message to other people watching about helping Free Speech TV?
Give, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm surprising Bill with a check for $1,000.
Oh my God!
Craig. We need $1,500 a day, and it's we, you out there and me, we need Free Speech TV. So my challenge to you viewers out there is if just five of you will give $100, we will meet his $1,500 a day goal. So we need to do this together. Okay, folks?
All right. Can't thank you enough. You heard it. I can't say it any better than Craig Kellerman has said. And you know how to do it. You go to 877-378-8669 or to freespeech.org. Craig.
And give.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me, Bill.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It looks like the Donald's going to make it an even dozen. What an exciting day. What do you say, everybody? Great to see you. How about it? Tuesday, June 16. Hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this fine Tuesday. Here in the United States of America, all across this great land of ours, we are there with you here on the radio, your local progressive talk radio station, as well as the two great radio apps, iHeartRadio and the TuneIn app. Both are free. Take that radio with you anywhere you go. And look at you on Free Speech TV this morning. You're looking good. I hope we are too. Nationwide on Direct TV and on the Dish Network, worldwide on our video stream. We're there with you everywhere on this planet to bring you all the news of the day from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and our studio right here on Capitol Hill. And man, there's lots and lots to talk about today. I mean, can you believe it? Yep, Jeb Bush jumping in yesterday, number 11. And it looks like the Donald, he's going to announce today whatever he's going to do. It looks more and more like he's actually going to make it an even dozen. Would you believe it? The Rachel, the white lady who has been passing as a black lady and got found out, she resigned last night from her position at the NAACP. She was originally going to hold a news conference and explain her situation. That didn't turn out too well when it was revealed that she had once sued Howard University for discriminating against her as a white woman. Can't have it both ways. She's out. She resigned. Goodbye. Good riddance. And we discover the latest bombshell about the prison break in New York, that the woman Tilly Mitchell, who helped them get the tools that they needed to engineer their breakout and was supposed to be there with a getaway car but changed her mind. It turns out she was having sexual relations with both of the prisoners in the press. So, I mean, you know, God, it just gets...
What a story.
What a story. Just worse and
all
worse.
The way around. Just terrible.
How about it? Team Press here. Oh, it's so much news, man. Takes a village. We got the village here. Peter Rockburn and Lisa Murphy.
We are the village people.
Hey, good morning.
With Jamie Benson on the phones and Cyprian Bolding on the video cam. You put that all together, and all we got to say is, watch out. Watch out. Watch out. If you're anywhere near Texas, don't say we didn't warn you.
The storm's every move is being closely monitored. More than 200 people are tracking the storm in real time, ready to mobilize emergency management.
It is Tropical Storm Bill.
Oh, my God.
You aren't even safe at the beach.
Oh, my
God.
Already calling people off the beach.
Well, I'm sorry to do this, but if I did it to any state, man, I'd want to hammer Texas.
Texas is going to get it.
Yes, that's right. It was not by accident that I decided to come ashore in Texas, right? So, is it hurricane or tropical storm?
Right now, it's just tropical storm.
What am I?
Right now, you are currently sitting in a tropical storm.
All right.
Tropical storm bill. Galveston, Texas is on high alert. That's where they expected to make landfall.
Whoa, that's where they had that big hurricane.
Yep.
There's a great book written about that.
Yeah. So, but as of now, you're just a tropical storm. So there's some cause for concern. But
all right. Tropical Storm Bill, here at your pleasure. Yeah, with the news of the day. I know it's a Tuesday, so you know, I know why you're here. Arthur Delaney coming up. Prince Igor Volsky coming up after him. And then we'll be talking to the great Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro and her colleague from Connecticut, Congressman Jim Himes, Connecticut, taking over the show today. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You haven't seen the Mad Max movie yet, have you, Bill?
No.
All right, so the Mad Max movie is still out in theaters. It stars Tom Hardy, who plays Mad Max, and Charlize Theron plays Imperiosa Furiosa.
Okay.
Right. So they both have stunt doubles in the movie, right, to do some of the stunts. It turns out the two people that played their stunt doubles fell in love while they were making the movie, and they just got married.
Aw, that's awesome.
Isn't that a nice story? The man...
I was wondering what they did like for a wedding. For stunt doubles, right?
Yes, seriously.
Jump out of a building or, you know. Right.
The
run over by a car.
The South African man by the name of Dane Grant serves as Tom Hardy's temporary stunt double, and his future wife, Dana, works as Charlize Theron's stunt double. They spent a ton of time together out in the Namibian desert shooting some of the scenes, which I guess there's really nothing else to do out there except for fall in love.
Right.
And they just recently got married, so congratulations.
Very nice.
Congratulations to the two. And then a new study by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention took a look at weight gain of Americans over the last several years, the last 50 years.
Let me guess. They did this research by going to the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland.
It's a great study. But what they did is they took a look at what the average American man and the average American woman weighed in 1960 to see where we are now. The average American woman now weighs the same as the average American man weighed in 1960.
Wow.
So women are getting bigger, but don't worry, men are getting bigger too. Men have put on nearly 30 pounds in the last 50 years.
Get out.
Yeah.
The
The average weight for the American woman now is 166.2 pounds. The average American male used to weigh 166.3. We're up to 195.5 today.
What were women in the 60s?
Back in the 60s, women were around 140.
Okay.
Whoa.
We've
Well,
gotten
I'm glad,
bigger.
and that's one time I'm glad to be below average.
There you go. There you go. And we go to Pennsylvania, where Pauline Spagnola just turned 100 years old.
Good for her.
Happy birthday, and congratulations, Miss Pauline. She gave an interview to the local TV station WNEP, and of course they asked her the secret to living a long life. She said she drinks 2 glasses of wine a day and a beer before bed.
Oh, really?
That is her secret to living to be 100.
Did it for my grandmother. I told you. I told you before. Camel cigarettes and Budweiser beer.
There you go.
She rode that all the way to 103.
See? I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Drink more beer.
I kept saying, Grandma, you ought to do commercials for camels. But I never got her that job.
I'm Grandma Pratt. Want to know how I live to be 100?
Yeah, right. All right. Thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. So we all knew he was going to do it. The big announcement came yesterday down in Miami with Jeb Bush, brother of one president and son of another. Love to know, what do you think Jeb Bush has a chance, and whether or not there's any way that you think he might be the next president of the United States. 866-55-PRESS. I got to tell you, I don't think Jeb will be the next president of the United States, but I do think he's the best of the Republican candidates that we've seen so far. Certainly, he's one of the top 3. If you think of probably Mark Rubio, fellow Floridian, and Scott Walker as the other 2, with maybe Rick Perry moving in there. So he is a formidable threat, Jeb Bush, no doubt about it. He will have more money than, or certainly he'll have more than any of the other Republican candidates. And he's been around politics a long time, and he certainly knows something about running for president, having played a major role in his father's campaign and in his brother's campaign. Yesterday, here he is making the obligatory announcement.
Our country's on a very bad course, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? The question for me is, what am I going to do about it? And I've decided I'm a candidate for President of the United States of America.
There is surprise, surprise, surprise. He's been at it for about 6 months. I think it was last December that he actually started moving around and raising money. Making it official yesterday. One thing you've got to say, to his credit, Jeb Bush is running a different kind of campaign. He sort of decided he is not going to do what we expect all these Republicans to do, is go as far right as they can in the primary and then move back in the general election. He's not doing that. He actually, yesterday, first of all, this was a big group of Latinos that gathered there in Florida, for the most part. He actually spoke, part of his speech was in Spanish. His son spoke in Spanish. He had entertainers there who sang and performed in Spanish. He talked about immigration reform. I mean, there maybe end up 20 Republican candidates, right? Again, Donald Trump will make it 12 today. None of them would ever talk about immigration reform in a positive way. They would just attack President Obama for whatever he did. So that certainly sets him apart. And also the fact that if you saw any video of it, he's just looks like a casual guy from Florida. And no suit, no tie, no suit jacket. Has just a good kind of a casual look. So he is setting himself apart from the rest of the Republican pack, to his credit. But at the same time, it's kind of weird, I think, to hear him seems to be the thread of his campaign, the theme of his campaign. By the way, with the campaign slogan, Jeb, exclamation point. Jeb Bush is a guy, when you meet, you don't think of an exclamation point.
Jeb!
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's
Right.
not that dynamic. I don't think any charisma or enthusiasm, excitement at all. He walks in a room, people don't jump and say, Jeb, 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 you know, the way like Obama did, excited people in 2008.
And also, as you pointed out, Jeb who?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's that last name again?
Yeah. Where's the last name?
Right.
He wants people to forget about the last name. But he's running the theme, back to the theme. He's running against Washington, okay? Here he is, lashing out.
We will take Washington,
Yeah.
the static capital of this dynamic country, then turn it out of the business of causing problems, and we'll get it back on the right side of free enterprise and freedom for all Americans.
Yeah, we're going to take back Washington, and we're going to get rid of those elites in Washington.
We don't need another president who merely holds the top spot among the pampered elites of Washington. We need a president willing to challenge and disrupt the whole culture in our nation's capital, and I will be that president.
Now, what does he mean, the pampered elites of Washington? I mean, like, where did he grow up? And a lot of the time was in the White House. He wasn't there as a student, right, as a kid, as he was already grown. But he spent a lot of time when his daddy's in the White House, his mommy's in the White House, when his brother George is in the White House. I mean, he is part of the Washington establishment.
Yo, there's no
Bush,
way.
his name is freaking Bush.
You can't argue. His dad was vice president.
Yes.
His dad was running the CIA. There are buildings named after his father here in town.
His father was head of the Republican National Committee.
Like, how much more Washington? Who's more Washington elite than?
He's like Al Gore.
Bushes?
He grew up in Washington.
Yeah.
He's Al Gore may live in Nashville right now, but he's a Washington.
Sure.
Washingtonian. So is Jeb Bush, and there's no doubt Jeb Bush would not be even considered, I don't think, as a serious candidate were his name not Bush, which is the other thing, that problem that he's got. I think he's got this Bush name, which I think is more of a liability than a plus, dragging that around. I do think the American people, Hillary's got a similar problem, not as bad a one, because she's a strong person on her own and a woman, and happened to be married to another guy who was the guy who was president once. But I think American people don't just want two families trading places every 4 or 8 years in the White House. So he's got that dynasty problem. And the other thing is, there's certainly again, I give him credit for being good on immigration reform, but there's some other issues in which he just hasn't caught up with the American people. I mean, Iraq, he still doesn't have a good answer, which should be the very first question he would expect and have an answer ready for is, do you support what your brother did in Iraq, and would you have sent American troops? Would you have authorized the invasion of Iraq? He doesn't have an answer on that. And let me tell you, here's another issue in which he is just hopelessly behind the times, and that is Cuba.
90 miles to our south, there's a talk of a state visit by our outgoing president. But we don't need a glorified tourist to go to Havana in support of a failed Cuba.
Now, he's just playing to the minority now, the minority of Cuban Americans, who are really American Cubans, right? They've been here for a couple of generations now.
Wow.
He's just playing to the minority of them who still don't think we should normalize relations with Cuba. I mean, he's totally wrong, but he's also just out of step with America, out of step with the American business community, out of step with the Chamber of Commerce, out of step with farmers, out of step with manufacturers, out of step with investors, out of step with the majority of Republicans, and out of step with the majority of Cuban Americans. President Obama won the Cuban American vote in 2008 and in 2012 by by having a policy of we have to normalize relations with Cuba.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, there's no talk about Obama going to Cuba. I talk about it. I got to tell you,
Right.
I just came back from Cuba. There's no talk about it. They're not making any plans for Obama to go down there. And at the White House, they're not making any plans. So, I mean, it's just a red herring he's throwing out there. All right, let's assess. Here's the time. As progressives, as liberals, as Democrats, as Republicans, let's assess Jeb Bush. What are his chances? He's not the most charismatic, dynamic candidate. Can he make it? Should Democrats be afraid of him? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, my fellow Americans, we're taking a little time out here just to give you a chance to pick up the phone and make your pledge to Free Speech TV. You know what it's all about. You can go to 877-378-8669 or just go to freespeech.org. But we need you to make your pledge. We're winding up our spring pledge drive. And you know how important it is. We tell you every day. We're here with you on Free Speech TV, but we depend on you to keep it going. And a lot of you ask about, what do we do? How do we put this show together every day? I don't know. Peter Ogburn is a guy who knows.
Hi, Bill.
Hello, Peter. So it's a lot of work putting 3 hours together every day.
It is a lot of work
and
to put this show together.
I credit you and Elisa for doing it. So when do we get started?
Well, we love doing this show. We love having the freedom to do this show the way that we do it. We work all day. We try
Which wouldn't be possible except on Free Speech.
There's no way. I mean,
Right.
we've done this for 10 years now.
Yes.
And the way that we do the show now is so great because we have the freedom to do whatever we want.
Right.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. But we spend all week long. We're calling guests. We're booking guests. We're looking for stories. We're always in constant contact. We have conference calls the day before the show, and then we meet before the show to sort of lay everything out. And one of the things that's been so refreshing to me about all this is it's us. We all get to put this together here with the Bill Press Show team. We've worked together long enough. We know what we're looking for, and we're able to have that freedom here on the great Free Speech TV.
Right. And I go to the White House every day, which brings new stuff in.
Absolutely.
Go to different events. Last night I was hanging out with Justice Sonia Sotomayor and be able to talk to her about, for example, the big health care case coming down from the Supreme Court. She didn't tell me how they're going to rule, but so we're on it, and the team, as Peter mentions, it's all of us. We put it all together, but it's all of us and you. I mean, that's the important thing because it's as simple as that. There wouldn't be any free speech without you. So we need your help. You got look at poor Peter. You got to help him out here. I mean, right. I mean, come on.
Give with your hearts, people. Give with your hearts.
Keep Peter on the job. And Elisa.
I have kids.
And Jamie and Cyprian and me and all the rest of our great hosts on Free Speech TV. Again, the number is 877-378-8669. Seriously, this is very, very, very important. We depend on your help. No corporate money. I could tell you that all the time. That's so important. No Koch brothers money, no corporate money, just you. And you got those great gifts coming. We'll give you that little stamp for $60. No, you can't use to bribe politicians, however. For $120, a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy. For $240, Dollarocracy and the stamp. And for $360, you get the stamp and the book and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. You wear that baseball cap to Washington, D.C. If you help us with $1,000, then Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you in to meet Peter and Elisa and the whole gang here. So we need your help and appreciate very much those of you who have already made your pledge. And those of you who haven't, now's the time. Step up to the plate and swing away today. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post joins the conversation at the half. Jeb Bush making it official yesterday. How do we assess his campaign? Out in Imperial Beach, California. Early morning on the West Coast. Hello, Michael.
Good morning, Bill and everybody.
Hey.
Hey now.
Okay, according to the Daily Beast website, Scott Walker's net worth, $72,500. He owes Sears $50,000. He owes his credit card companies between $10 and $100,000, and we all know who's backing Scott Walker, the Koch brothers.
Koch boys.
Now, Jeb Bush's net worth, $1.3 million, which is nothing. Who would you guess is backing Jeb Bush?
Daddy Bush? You mean the who's his sugar daddy?
Well, I mean, it takes money to run for president. We know the Koch brothers are all behind Scott Walker, so it's like, who is actually backing Jeb Bush financially?
You know what? That's a very, very good question. I don't think we know that yet.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country, during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge, all right? So there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you. Get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on Free Speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things.
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
Most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour here on Tuesday, June 16, indeed. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where we're brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. Put them all together under President Joseph Sellers, the good men and women of the SMART Union, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. You bet. Find out more about their good work at their website, smart-union.org. They got two jobs this morning, wearing two hats. Still bringing you the Bill Press Show, but also slamming the coast of Texas tropical storm Bill this morning. I'm out there wreaking a lot of havoc on the coast of Texas. Sorry about that, Texas, but after Rick Perry announced, I just decided I had to slam Texas. And we are very pleased. You know, it's Tuesday. We know why you're here, because you want to meet Mr. Delaney, Jack Delaney here, representing Huffington Post. Oh, that's right. No, Jack is your son. Arthur, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We loved meeting Jack at the party on Saturday.
Jack doesn't speak English,
but he had a good time.
We couldn't put him on the radio.
No, he had a good time.
Yeah, he's crawling around on the floor.
He's a great kid.
At one point, he grabbed the tablecloth.
Really?
And we were
look how serious Bill.
He was going to yank off. All that stuff would have come tumbling down.
Well, you got him.
We got it in time.
You got him in time. Good. Well, he was such a good kid that we thought we should send Jack a little reminder, remembrance of the party.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Peter?
We had so many nice things at the party. We had a lot of good beer from our friends at Blue Jacket.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And so we brought.
So
I wouldn't give that.
So
to
this
Jack
is for Jack.
A couple of
okay.
weeks.
This is for Jack.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Fabulous. It's the goldfinch.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
That's fantastic.
Okay, good for you. Maybe, thanks to Blue Jacket and
Jack loves beer.
That ought to last until he's like 18 or something.
Just a little bit.
All right.
Just a tiny little bit.
Hey, so Arthur, we are talking about Jeb Bush making a big announcement yesterday, partly in Spanish. Certainly distinguishes him. The fact that he would even recognize the importance of doing something about immigration reform distinguishes him from the rest of the pack. What do you think? Got a chance? Is he going
major chance.
Is he going to be the nominee?
Highly likely.
Really?
He's one of the likelier ones. People are used to sort of dismissing Republican candidates right now just because there are so many, and several of them are very silly, like Donald Trump. But John Ellis Bush is not like those other guys. He's a little more plausible because his name recognition and his money. And do people realize that his name is John Ellis Bush?
No.
And that's why they call him Jeb? So when you're saying Jeb Bush, it's like you're saying John Ellis Bush.
Well, now they know it because they learned it right here on the Bill Press Show from Arthur Delaney of Huffington Post. But
acronym.
It's not just that. It's Jeb ! Yeah,
very big
Jeb!
That's it.
Which, from my understanding, is to make sure people realize that he's happy he's doing this because apparently he's not enjoying himself. Maybe it's because he's on the paleo diet and he's just hungry. And you can see that he's lost weight. It's been very effective for him. But apparently it's not the most joyful campaign at this point. Maybe that will change.
All right. How about the Bush name? Obviously, we were talking earlier. Jeb doesn't say Jeb Bush! Just Jeb. He'd rather people not think of him as a Bush, or does it help him?
It helps him, but people know it. He doesn't need to beat their heads over, beat it over their heads that he's Bush, Bush, Bush. People are aware, so I think that's their tactical decision to leave it off the campaign logo and put an exclamation point on Jeb, J-E-B, Bush.
All right. So Jeb Bush put the fear in the hearts of Democrats. Does he? Should he? 866-55-PRESS. Arthur Sherry is calling from Chicago.
Oh, Sherry.
Uh-oh. Hi, Sherry.
Oh, good morning. Hey, go Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Yes,
Shout out.
Blackhawks. Wow, congratulations. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yes.
He ought to change his last name from Bush to Bushery. The guy is nothing but a showcase. Everybody knows that. I told the producer, screener, that he's probably just waiting for the advanced technology on the G.I. Joe soldiers that he loves so much because, he's just out there. I'm waiting for Sarah Palin personally because to liven it up. Right now they're just lined up to go to the bathroom. It's just so boring.
Lining up to go to the bathroom, like these guys are all standing in line at a bar. Right. Yeah, I'm running for president. You too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wish it'd hurry up in there. One of his things is education, and had supported Common Core education standards, and he was in his speech yesterday saying how important this is, and you all saw what happened in Baltimore with the youth just aimlessly wandering around. It's like, what? I didn't see that.
You were there.
That was a really strange synopsis of what happened in Baltimore, one that omitted the role of police brutality and the possibility of young people being angry. But anyway, a picadillo from Jeb's speech that I'm picking on him for.
All right. Suzanne is out in Schaumburg, Illinois. Hi, Suzanne. Good morning.
Hi, Schaumburg.
Schaumburg, sorry.
I think there's absolutely no way Jeb can win. He's too establishment. And
but his whole theme yesterday was he is the anti-establishment, anti-Washington elite candidate. You don't buy it, huh?
Well, he can't escape himself. I want to say, too, the Rick Perry big black wide brim glasses, they just don't work to make him look smarter. It doesn't work.
I think it works.
I don't think Marco Rubio could beat Jeb Bush, but I think Scott Walker could. It's too split up. The far left people have the Tea Party group now, and the other people don't like established people. So I think there's 100% chance that he won't win just because he's trying to avoid Iowa and thinks he can just jump over everything and just win in the end. It's ridiculous. But
okay, all right, Suzanne, she's got it worked out. But Rick Perry's glasses, do they make him look more intelligent?
No doubt about it.
I think they work.
Yeah,
I do think they work.
Come on, give him a break. He looks way smarter. I got, you know what? After he got those glasses, I got the same glasses. So maybe it's a conflict of interest, but I heartily endorse Rick Perry's glasses. Jeb Bush he's establishment, but establishment guy won last time, won the Republican nomination. That is, I mean, that's a proven
right.
You can do that,
and that's the test, I think, in the Republican primary. And I think you're right that the Tea Party, the Ted Cruz, to a certain extent, Rand Paul, Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee, any of those guys who are far to the right of the establishment, if you will, or mainstream, whatever you want to call them, Republicans, they always load up the primary, take a shot, but in the end, the establishment candidate wins. It was Mitt Romney, and this year it's Jeb, maybe Scott Walker in that category, or Marco Rubio.
I get less the impression with the Bush campaign that it's really consultant driven and people are making a buck off it. It seems more plausible to me that it could go deep into the primary.
I agree with you. If I had to bet today, I would bet that Jeb Bush is going to be the Republican nominee. However, we say that, Arthur, before it looks like it'll be a full dozen today with the entry of Donald Trump.
Excellent.
He's making his announcement today. But we don't know for sure that he's going to run, but all the signs are that he is.
It's totally mystifying to me every time. He's so silly.
You know what?
Why do the other guys want? I mean, it sort of degrades the entire operation for a dozen other people.
Any self-respecting Republican must be just cringing for the idea that Donald Trump might actually declare to run as a Republican.
I mean, why? How do they not banish him?
They can't, right? I mean, he's
so strange.
Yeah, right.
He's, like a hardcore birther. Remember birthers?
Yeah.
He was the guy. He was the guy
who leading that whole thing.
He caught on to birtherism like after it had already come and gone.
Totally.
It's so strange.
No, that's what he made the last time around 4 years ago. He was a guy that insisted President Obama was not an American. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? Kind of the whole thing. But you know what? Obama showed his birth certificate. I mean,
you're saying he's a very effective birther?
No, I was just saying
he was the best birther.
He was a pain in the ass, but the White House finally had to respond.
They really did release that long form
I was
birth
there
certificate
in the press room when they walked in the briefing room.
All right, you've heard it here. Bill Press has endorsed Donald Trump.
I'm saying, if I were,
he gets things done.
Here's the problem for the Republicans with Donald Trump is, so they have said, CNN, Fox News, and the rest have said, okay, we're not going to put all these clowns on the stage. We're only going to put the top 10 in the public opinion polls.
Good move.
Yeah, but guess who's always going to be in the top 10 because he has such name identification? Donald Trump.
It's amazing.
So they won't be able to get him off the stage if he runs. Anyhow, we have more serious things to talk about, which is like a trade deal that went down in flames on Friday. I want to get your take on whether that's good or bad and where we go from here. Arthur Delaney, Huffington Post, 866-55 Press. Let's keep the conversation going on this Tuesday, June 16. All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Delaney in studio. Igor Volsky joins us at the top of the next hour. The trade deal didn't even come close Friday.
No. 300
yeah.
plus no votes. And you needed a lot more yes votes.
So first of all, good or bad for American workers, American consumers?
The labor advocates out there lobbying hard on this think this is a victory for American workers, but we'll see how long it lasts because, of course, they're plotting the next attempt to bring it back. Had said it could be as early as today, but now it looks like it will not. They're going to give themselves 30 days or so. But the idea that Democrats would support this trade adjustment and assistance program was their ace in the hole. Republicans assumed that would get them the Democratic votes they needed, and Democrats shot the hostage, like in the movie Speed, when Dennis Hopper is menacing Keanu Reeves. He just shoots the guy and completely solves the situation.
So I'm not sure the Democrats would appreciate that analogy, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, one of the reasons this program, they don't love it enough to swallow this massive trade deal that they believe will be totally unhelpful to workers more broadly. And trade adjustment assistance has helped like 2 million people in 40 years. So it's not the most lovable program for Democrats.
Is this sort of the ghost of NAFTA that people that Democrats are also rising up against, if you will?
Absolutely. When you NAFTA is frequently mentioned, and even the Democrats who support this, the 40 or so or the 20 or so, they say it is in spite of NAFTA that I am still willing to go for this trade deal. I think it would be better than we'll be without it. But NAFTA totally looms large over this. The fact that trade that it has its own little unemployment program doesn't speak well to the idea that the trade deal will create jobs when this program associated with it is all about destroying jobs.
So Scott Wong from The Hill newspaper was in studio with us yesterday, and he said by his count, Democrats would have to turn around, well, the president would have to turn around 85 House Democrats, assuming Republicans will stay with him. 85 House Democrats would have to switch from a no vote to a yes vote.
Yeah, it's really hard to see how that will happen.
Can they get there?
I don't, right now, no. Like today, no. Nancy Pelosi is against it. John Boehner's not even talking to her right now. Hillary Clinton came out and said, I'll do what Leader Pelosi's doing. So that I think that their positions will be entrenched for the time being, and I don't see anyone moving immediately. And Pelosi had said, give us a highway bill, and we'll talk about it. So they're willing to do something, but right now the Speaker's office is not into that. So I think they're going to try to delay this for 30 days.
If you think about it, 85 Democrats they have to persuade to vote no. I just wonder if there are enough new federal buildings, enough new schools, enough new highways to hand out, right? You need 85 of them, enough new baseball stadiums or something in every district. You have to have something kind of like really big.
Well, the strange thing about it is they've got this unusual situation where they want Democrats to support the trade assistance separately from the fast track authority, which has enough Republican votes on its own. And other scenarios are, what if they just put them both together and then send that to the Senate, or would Republicans balk at having the trade assistance in there? It's a $500 million a year. I'm surprised Republicans aren't willing to just go for that.
But they made it so complicated. It's almost hard to follow. All we know is that the president made a deal with the Republicans and they lost, and Democrats stood together and were able to defeat their own president. Arthur Delaney, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for the beer.
All right, see you next week. Say hello to Jack. We'll be back. Igor Volsky here at the top of the next hour.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Right now, big banking, software, pharmaceutical, and tobacco corporations are lobbying governments from 12 countries to negotiate the dirtiest deal you've never heard of. There's a reason you haven't heard of the TPP or Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are some major corporations and government officials that don't want you to know what's in the deal. For one, our food safety standards, environmental protections, and local labor laws could all be threatened under the TPP. We could all be forced to pay significantly more for the medicines we need, and you could be fined or even sent to jail for downloading copyrighted content on the internet. How will they know if you do it? Because your internet service providers could be required to watch your online activity. But that's not the scariest part. The TPP gives corporations the power to sue our government in secret tribunals over any law or regulation they claim affects their expected future profits. Don't believe it? It's already happening. Recently, after our government said an American pharma corporation's drug price-raising patents were not legit, the firm sued Canadian taxpayers for a staggering $500 million. And a U.S. fracking company sued us when the Quebec government put a moratorium on shale gas development to study its impacts. These deals will stop us from making our own common sense laws for fear of lawsuits. Thankfully, not everyone is willing to sign on the dotted line just yet. In fact, most government officials still have no idea what they're even signing on to, for good reason. In the U.S., Democrats and Republicans alike are uniting to oppose a fast tracking of the TPP, demanding open debates and negotiations instead. Elected officials in Canada and everywhere should be doing this, and it's our job to make sure they start showing some backbone. Here's the deal. Without a strong public outcry, politicians will only hear the concerns of multinational corporations. And once the TPP is signed, it's here forever. There's no expiration date and no separation clause. This dirty deal has been deliberately branded as a free trade agreement. It is anything but free for people like you and me. And it's not really about trade. It could cost us our internet freedom, labor rights, access to affordable medicine, the safety of our food, and protections that keep our water and air clean. Nobody wants to be struck with a backroom deal we don't want and never voted for. Find out more, speak up, and spread the word.
Igor Volsky from Think Progress. Top of the next hour, we'll be joined a little bit later by Congressman Jim Himes, and Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, both from Connecticut, and then Justin Sink from Bloomberg News. It's a busy Tuesday right here around the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
All right, here we go. That magic time when the pledge drive continues and we ask for your help. And, so many of you have, and we appreciate that very, very much. And one regular viewer of Free Speech TV who lives not too far from the studio here was kind enough to come in today. He's been a very generous contributor to Free Speech TV. Craig Kellerman lives on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and Craig, thanks for stopping by.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Now, what do you like about free speech? I know you're a big fan.
I have been a huge supporter. When I first got to D.C., there, of course, was the Wall Street Journal, the main myth machine for corporate America and for Wall Street. But then there was suddenly Roger Ailes and the Fox conglomerate. And they are major myth makers, probably better than Homer. They rapidly and cannily took over the TV stations, the press, in a way that had not been envisioned by liberals. Mm-hmm. You had Rush Limbaugh. You had Fox News, and Fox News purveying itself as real news, when in fact they were making their own news. It was absolutely outrageous, and there was really no other outlet for liberal news or for news in general.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing about Free Speech TV was it was news that was also truth. It wasn't just a liberal slant. It was real news. And the first antidote, if you will, that we had to Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and it's a crucial antidote because they have, let's face it, a decade jump on us, at least a decade's jump.
Yeah, right.
They have been out there for a long time doing what we're just starting to do. And your program most admirably, but also Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman, David Packman.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful journalists who are getting the word out there. And it's a different word from Fox, principally because it's truth.
Well, that's so good of you to say, and it's great having loyal friends and supporters and viewers like you around the country. What is your message to other people watching about helping Free Speech TV?
Give, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm surprising Bill with a check for $1,000.
Oh, my God.
We need $1,500 a day, and it's we, you out there and me, we need Free Speech TV. So my challenge to you viewers out there is if just five of you will give $100, we will meet his $1,500 a day goal. So we need to do this together. Okay, folks?
All right. Can't thank you enough. You heard it. I can't say it any better than Craig Kellerman has said. And you know how to do it. You go to 877-378-8669 or to freespeech.org. Craig.
And give.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me, Bill.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
On your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Tropical Storm Bill hammers the Texas coastline. I'm sorry, Texas. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll hit a little Alabama, too, just to even it out. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Tuesday, June 16, and this is Tropical Storm Bill coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. In our studio on Capitol Hill, we are here with you on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast. We are looking at you on Free Speech TV, coast to coast, as well and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. It's Tuesday, beginning of the second hour. I know why you're here. You're here to see Prince Igor Volsky, and he's not disappointing you Igorians this morning. He's here in the flesh. Hello, Igor. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. I'm good. You know, Jeb has a campaign slogan, Jeb, with the exclamation mark. Mine's going to be Igor?
Igor.
Question mark. Igor? Question mark. Who? Igor?
At least it's not Igor Bush.
Mine is just Peter with umlauts over the E's.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We're into the punctuation thing.
Yeah. What's yours, Bill?
I just was thinking.
Tropical Storm Bill.
Yeah,
like
that's all you need.
With like a little accent over the I.
Yeah, he's coming. Yeah.
Bill.
Watch out.
Bill.
But Jeb, it's Jeb. That's how you have to say it.
You have to refer to him from here on. Jeb!
Really confronts you with it.
Yeah.
But it's not Jeb Bush. It's just Jeb. He doesn't want to.
No.
No, he doesn't want to talk about the Bush.
Don't put the emphasis on the Bush part.
All right.
The Bush is technically in the B of the Jeb. It's very confusing.
Don't even. I know.
Yes. And then we've got the team here this morning, too. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Jamie Benson, they're on the phones, 866-55-PRESS. You know the number. Cyprian Bolding, behind closed doors, but very important part of the show, keeping us out there on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. We've mentioned we had our second annual Bill Press Show party Saturday. Igor Volsky was there in good form. You had a good time?
I had a tremendous time, thank you.
We don't want the party to end.
Of course not. I see something behind you there.
It was a big weekend. I mean, there were so many people out and about and running around for all different kind of festivities. And you had to leave a little early.
Had to leave early.
A little early, so we we wanted you to take a little souvenir from the party.
Thank you so much. Do I have to drink it all now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure that's the way it's done. Thank you so much.
Yes, there it is.
No better way to start the morning. No better way to start the morning.
Goldfinch from Blue Jacket.
Blue Jacket.
Part of the leftover supplies for the party. We wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, indeed. We got a lot going on here. Igor Volsky will be here with us for this half hour. Then we'll be joined by Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut. Top of the next hour, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, also from Connecticut, of course, and Justin Sink from Bloomberg News. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You're never going to believe this, Bill, but you know,
I don't believe it.
We talked so much for the past couple months about Ginny's Splendid Ice Cream. They're one of the ice cream companies that had the listeria outbreak. They resumed production not that long ago. The end of last week, they found another outbreak of listeria inside their production facility, which means they are shutting down all production once again.
Oh, God.
Ooh, rough.
Terrible,
that is rough.
Terrible story. They're based in Columbus, Ohio. And again, remember, they shut down their stores. They shut down production.
Yeah.
You couldn't find any of the Ginny's ice cream. But they're shutting down.
They better
again.
get that fixed.
They
They're
need to
gonna
get
be
that
out of
fixed.
business.
It's very important that they get that. We need our ice cream. This might be the worst person ever. His name is Thomas Kinney, and he recently made headlines because he fathered a baby, and he said that the baby wasn't his. So the court ordered that he take a DNA test to see if, in fact, he was the father, right? So what he did is he hired a man who looked a lot like him.
Oh, no.
To go and take the DNA test.
Are you sure this wasn't like Montel or
This is very Maury. This happened in Birmingham, in England. The man was found out, believe it or not, and the judge found out and said this might be one of the most morally reprehensible things I have ever heard. He was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 6 months in jail, and he's going to have to pay several thousands of dollars in costs and compensation.
How about child support?
That's also coming too.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
This is his kid. And if you're listening in WCPT in Chicago this morning, good morning. You are living in the home of the World Stanley Cup NHL hockey champions. The Chicago Blackhawks beat the Tampa Bay Lightning last night Final score was 2-0, an impressive showing for the Chicago Blackhawks. Good morning, Chicago.
Good morning, Chicago. Good morning, WCPT. Congratulations, Blackhawks. And listen, if you were in that arena last night, it was wild. Counting down the buzzer and the call of that, if we can, at least the call of that play that put the Blackhawks on top.
For the third time in 6 seasons, it's one goal achieved. The Chicago Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup. The Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup. The Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup.
In case you
Just
didn't
keeps
hear
going.
It, in case you didn't hear it the first time, the Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, that was great. Great. Thank you, Peter. Yes, great news for Chicago. The lead story on Think Progress this morning, Igor. Pope Francis on climate change. Maybe the headline is that the encyclical, which was coming out on the 18th, today's only the 16th, leaked.
Ooh.
So the Vatican's got a little problem with documents leaking as well, right?
Yeah,
and this was not Edward Snowden.
Well, now there's this entire conspiracy in Vatican circles that somebody's trying to undermine the Pope, that they're trying to dilute his message, because this creates this situation where if this is an early draft, we're going to be comparing the early draft with the final document when it comes in on Thursday, and it really takes away from the impact of this first ever encyclical on climate change.
Right, which is huge, the fact that the Pope would talk on this. Rick Santorum is not happy. He says the Pope doesn't have any business talking about climate change. But in fact, the Pope is a scientist.
Yes.
And popes do talk about important issues.
And this pope touched on climate change from the very beginning of his popeship. His first big address, he mentioned climate change. And in this much anticipated document, he really hopes to influence the global debate that's going to happen at the end of this year when we all go to Paris.
Yep.
I'm assuming we're all going to Paris to do the show from there.
We're broadcasting live from Paris.
I'm sure to see if an accord can be reached to keep the world away from that 2 degrees Celsius increase that's going to be so devastating. And in his draft, in this initial draft, he really goes at Republicans who've been using the Bible to justify their dominion over the earth, and said this is the wrong interpretation and that we must take care and cherish God's creation. It's really powerful stuff. And I think it's going to reverberate not only in this country with Catholics here in America, but also I think with religious lawmakers who use their faith, people like Sarah Palin, who say this is God's resources, oil, and we must extract it at any cost, and I think could really shift the debate on this issue.
And September 24, Paris, but he's going to have an opportunity. September 24 is when he addresses a joint session of Congress. And he's going to talk about climate change. And he's going to be right there in front of those climate deniers, starting with John Boehner, who will be sitting, I guess, right in back of him, the way they do for an address like that. And there's no way that these people are going to be able to boo him.
And they know it matters.
I mean, I love it. It's just challenge them right to their face.
You ask people, who do you trust the most on climate change? And the Pope is number one on that list.
Really?
Absolutely. The most influential voice in the climate debate is the Pope. People trust this Pope. He's a popular Pope, and I think it could have a real impact.
All right. Now, before we move on, I just have to ask you about one thing. Did I hear you coin a new word?
Did I coin a new word?
Popeship?
Popeship. Yeah. His popeship.
I haven't heard popeship,
guess.
You mean like...
You heard it here first.
You mean like papacy?
Yeah, well, that's another way to say that. A more common way. A more common way, Bill.
I just was curious.
Yeah, well, popeship is a new word. Yeah, we're trying out here. We'll see how we're test driving it.
But,
it'll catch on.
Papacy is a good word. I'm not going to lie. It's a good word. Popeship also is a good word.
I've just
Thank you,
never
Peter.
heard popeship before.
Yeah, well, learn something new every day, every Tuesday.
That's right. You hear new words. If he doesn't have a word for it, he'll just make up a word.
That's right.
Just invent a word.
Whatever.
This man is a professional.
He has his own dictionary.
I work with words.
Right. Big issue here, maybe somewhat related to climate change. The Trans-Pacific Partnership vote last week. Nobody was sure where Hillary Clinton stood on this until after the vote. Now, do we know?
No.
Still
don't know. She has been under a lot of pressure to say something about this deal because as the Secretary of State, she was the chief spokesperson for the TPP, was a big proponent, called it, I think, in 2012, the gold standard of trade deals. She said that. And so now that she's a presidential candidate, she has remained silent for the most part. She, in I believe Iowa a couple of months ago, said that there must be a balance between environmental and labor protections and free trade. And yesterday, Monday, kind of went on a more extended explanation, explaining that the president has to work with Democrats in Congress, including Nancy Pelosi, to get a better deal, but would not answer reporters' questions about how she would have voted if she was in Congress. Would she have authorized fast-track authority for the president? She simply called for a better deal and one that Democrats could live with.
So all the pressure for her to take a stand. We want to know where you stand, Hillary.
She's not going to do it, and she's going to give answers that that either side can interpret as supporting the deal or opposing the deal. It's just what people expect.
Yeah, I just it's amazing that she can get away with that, but I guess she can. But I'm thinking back to her vote in support of the Iraq War haunted her and probably cost her the presidency. So she's thinking that this could be the Iraq vote of 2016, right? This vote. I doubt that would have that significance, but maybe it's just...
Yeah, it's hard to see that people are making up their minds based on the TPP. I think few Americans know what that is, really. However, you do have to think, why can't she just kind of lay out a clear standard and say, I support a trade deal that, for instance, requires the countries we're trading with to adopt labor protections before they sign the deal so that we know and can hold them to their word, or certain enforcement mechanisms that I want to see to make sure labor unions aren't murdered in these countries. And then go from there. That really establishes a line where she has a substantive argument, an argument that progressives will accept, but also says, I am for trade, but for reasonable trade. I mean, she can work the specifics here to her advantage. I'm not sure why she's choosing to remain very general and very circumspect about where she stands. It, I think, weakens her as a candidate.
You know what? Also, I think people respect generally. Even if you disagree with them, that people just stand up and say, yeah, I voted yes, or yes, I voted no, or yes, I support this, or yes, I oppose this, and here's why.
It's the wishy-washiness of it that is hard. It makes you feel and look like a soft leader, like somebody who can't be trusted, and like someone who's not going to stand for what they think is right.
Otherwise, her a big rally on Saturday.
Yeah, big rally seemed to go off very well. I think she really showed that, look, she still has the chops for this. She's been out of the campaign mode for quite some time. And I think it's what the Clinton team was certainly hoping for, this era of real excitement. We can't forget, Bill, here in D.C., it's easy to think about liberals not being pleased enough with Hillary and all this. But around the country, people are really excited about this candidacy. Democrats are really excited about her. And good for them.
Kyle Kondik yesterday was in from the Center for Politics down at the University of Virginia and pointed out, there's been all this media talk about, well, Hillary's really slipping because you've had Benghazi, you've had the Clinton Foundation stories and the paid speeches stories, and and he pointed out, yes, and during the last 3 months, her approval rating has actually slipped. Yes. From 46% to 44%.
Yeah.
It's slipped like
free fall. It's a total free fall.
2 points. Yeah, if you read the media stories, you would think total free fall. So she's still a real force.
Yeah. That's really the larger context here.
Right. Igor Volsky here from Think Progress. And then yesterday it was Jeb, and today, number 12. Ooh. Could be Donald Trump. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Donald.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, my fellow Americans, we're taking a little time out here just to give you a chance to pick up the phone and make your pledge to Free Speech TV. You know what it's all about. You can go to 877-378-8669 or just go to freespeech.org. But we need you to make your pledge. We're winding up our spring pledge drive. And you know how important it is. We tell you every day. We're here with you on Free Speech TV, but we depend on you to keep it going. And a lot of you ask about, what do we do? How do we put this show together every day? I don't know. Peter Ogburn is a guy who knows.
Hi, Bill.
Hello, Peter. So it's a lot of work putting 3 hours together every day.
It is a lot of work to put this show together.
I credit you and Elisa for doing it. So when do we get started?
Well, we love doing this show. We love having the freedom to do this show the way that we do it. We work all day. We try
Which wouldn't be possible except on Free Speech.
There's no way. I mean, We've done this for 10 years now.
Yes.
And the way that we do the show now is so great because we have the freedom to do whatever we want.
Right.
It's pretty awesome. But we spend all week long. We're calling guests. We're booking guests. We're looking for stories. We're always in constant contact. We have conference calls the day before the show, and then we meet before the show to sort of lay everything out. And one of the things that's been so refreshing to me about all this is it's us. We all get to put this together here with the Bill Press Show team. We've worked together long enough. We know what we're looking for, and we're able to have that freedom here on the great Free Speech TV.
Right, and I go to the White House every day, which brings new stuff in.
Absolutely.
Go to different events. Last night I was hanging out with Justice Sonia Sotomayor and be able to talk to her about, for example, the big healthcare case coming down from the Supreme Court. She didn't tell me how they're going to rule, but so we're on it, and the team, as Peter mentions, it's all of us. We put it all together, but it's all of us and you. I mean, that's the important thing because it's as simple as that. There wouldn't be any free speech without you. So we need your help. You got look at poor Peter. You got to help him out here. I mean, yeah. Right. I mean, come on.
Give with your hearts, people. Give with your hearts.
Keep Peter on the job. And Elisa.
I have kids.
And Jamie and Cyprian and me and all the rest of our great hosts on Free Speech TV. Again, the number is 877-378-8669. Seriously, this is very, very, very important. We depend on your help. No corporate money. I could tell you that all the time. That's so important. No Koch brothers money, no corporate money, just you. And you got those great gifts coming. We'll give you that little stamp for $60. No, you can't use to bribe politicians, however. For $120, a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy. For $240, Dollarocracy and the stamp. And for $360, you get the stamp and the book and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. You wear that baseball cap to Washington, D.C. If you help us with $1,000, then Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you in to meet Peter and Elisa and the whole gang here. So we need your help and appreciate very much those of you who have already made your pledge. And those of you who haven't, now's the time. Step up to the plate and swing away today. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut coming up at the half hour. Igor Volsky here from Think Progress, thinkprogress.org, director of video and contributing editor for Think Progress. Not really a big surprise yesterday, Jeb Bush making the official announcement Maybe a surprise that so much of his speech was in Spanish. It looked like he was almost running for mayor of Miami.
Well, listen, good for him. This is a new electorate, certainly a very new electorate from what his brother had, a very different electorate from the last time we had a Clinton versus Bush race. I think then, in 1993, 87% of the electorate was white. We are far away from that. It's a more diverse country, a more diverse electorate, and good for Bush for whipping out the Spanish.
Yeah. How many other Republican candidates would even mention immigration reform unless they were using it to knock Obama over the head with it?
Well, he didn't really want to mention it either, of course, Jeb. He was heckled into it and gave a response that was, kind of general enough because this guy, for all of his immigration credentials, has had 3 different positions on the issue. Remember, he wrote a book in 2013 that said No Path to Citizenship. When he was promoting the book, that was during the time of the Gang of 8 immigration bill, and he came out for a path to citizenship. And people asked him, hey, now, you just put out a book, you said no path to citizenship, now you're telling us you want one. And he said, well, when I was writing the book, it was a different political climate, and so now people support it, and I support it. Where is he now? He's back to opposing a path to citizenship. So who knows?
The headline in fact, I guess that's one of the policies on Think Progress this morning is that he's reaching out for Latino voters while promoting policies that drive them the other way.
Well, that's right. Yeah, immigration, health care. There's a whole list. Minimum wage, a whole list of where Republican priorities don't line up with what most Latino voters support, and that's going to be his challenge.
But just remember this: his name is
Jeb. Woo! It made me jump in my chair.
Exclamation point.
From excitement.
Igor Volsky, great work at Think Progress. Thank you again for coming in. ThinkProgress.org. Enjoy the Goldfinch.
I will.
All right. Back
This
for Congressman
is
Jim
the
Himes.
Bill Press Show.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Tuesday, June 16, 33 minutes after the hour. Hello, and welcome to the Bill Press Show. Nationwide, we are here with you on your local progressive talk station. And coast to coast, here with you on Free Speech TV. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and our studio in Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where we are brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their colorful, outspoken international president, Leo Gerard, leading up the good men and women of the steelworkers representing North America's largest industrial union, over 1.2 million active and retired members. Find out all the good work that they're doing at usw.org. Another busy week for our good friends down the street here at the United States Capitol. And one of them, a good friend of the program, Congressman Jim Himes, representing Connecticut's 4th Congressional District, joins us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Congressman, thanks for coming on board. Good to talk to you.
Good morning. Great to be back.
What is the aftermath of the vote on the trade vote on Friday, and how did you vote?
Well, the aftermath question is a good one. No one really knows. I mean, on the one hand, obviously a big setback for President Obama's trade agenda. But on the other hand, Trade Promotion Authority, TPA, did pass both houses. And so, I think it comes back in one form or another. And, obviously this has been a very controversial thing, with lots of good thinking and people of good faith on both sides. You asked me how I voted it, after months of work and reflecting on my district, which is a very, very intensely export-oriented district. I did vote in support of granting the president the authority to finish negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership. But very, very hard to know where it goes. The White House, I think, will work to try to bring it back in one form or another, but we shall see.
The Hill is reporting that to flip this around would require flipping, if you will, 85 Democrats in the House to change their vote from a no vote to a yes vote. Do you think at all remotely possible? And by the way, I know at one time they were talking about maybe having a revote today. What have you heard? Is that likely to happen?
No, I really don't think it is. I mean, at the end of the vote last Friday, the Speaker pulled a maneuver requesting a resolution to reconsider, which basically means he could bring the same bill up again, and he'd have to do it today because you've only got 2 days to do that. But no, I mean, as you point out, changing the mind of 85 Democrats or whatever the number of Republicans, it would be dozens and dozens, on the same bill is just not going to happen. So much more likely, I would say, is some sort of start-over strategy. Leader Pelosi put forward an interesting, she dangled out an interesting idea in her statement on the floor that day. She said, boy, this would be easier to do if it was paired with a with a significant, meaningful infrastructure package. So that's obviously cracking a door to one thing that she's clearly willing to consider. But who knows? There may be other legislative routes here. Because, again, what intrigues those who support this thing is that the TPA itself did get a majority vote in both the Senate and the House. It was, stopped in the House by stopping trade adjustment assistance, which is, is sort of an interesting move. Democrats have obviously supported that program and fought for it for 40 years, but they recognized last week that if they could stop that program, because it was twined with the TPA in the Senate, if they could stop that program, they would stop the whole bill. So, but watch this space, because I think there may be more action in the coming weeks.
Right. One of the other issues that you've been very involved with, Congressman, is the issue of our intelligence and what NSA is up to, and what the civil and the protection of our civil liberties. And I know you've sponsored an amendment that's coming up, I guess, today for a vote, right, in the Intelligence Committee? Tell us about it.
That's correct. And this is part of a larger effort, and I speak for myself and I think my constituents here, part of a larger effort to dial back some of the very aggressive authorities that we learned about as a result of Edward Snowden's revelations. A lot of them emanating out of the Patriot Act, passed in some haste and in real emotion after 9/11. The USA Freedom Bill, which passed a number of weeks ago, went a long way towards doing that. It ended the bulk collection program. It created a civil liberties advocate inside the secret FISA court.
FISA court.
What you're asking about today is we've got the Intelligence Authorization Bill up this week, and sadly the majority has put a clause into that bill that would prohibit another body that most people don't know much about, the President's Civil Liberties Oversight Board, what we affectionately call the PCLOB, which was created out of the 9/11 Commission in a bipartisan way. It's just supposed to be another set of eyes on a lot of the programs and surveillance that the intelligence community does. The Republicans have unfortunately inserted a portion of this bill that would forbid them from looking at our covert programs. And in as much as our covert programs are related to the fight against terrorism, there's a very real possibility that they could raise profound civil liberties issues, in some cases the most profound. I'm referring, of course, to what we learned about some time ago, which was the president's decision to kill an American citizen in Yemen, Anwar al-Awlaki. Civil liberties issues don't get much more thorny than whether the president has the right under the Constitution to do that. People can argue it both ways. I would simply argue that for something that serious, we shouldn't be saying to the PCLOB that, sorry, you can't take a look at that. And so I've got an amendment that would hopefully, I'm not all that hopeful, but hopefully would prevent them from being excluded from looking at that sort of activity.
But this is another case where the intelligence agencies really want to. We, as you pointed out, we wouldn't know what NSA was up to if it weren't for Edward Snowden. So it's another case where the intelligence agencies are really trying to keep their actions secret, even from members of Congress.
Well, sadly, in this case,
and
it's an effort on
the President's Commission, right?
Yeah, in this case, it's not the intelligence community. I've never heard the intelligence community express any qualms about the PCLOB. It's the Republican majority that is saying, hey, they don't get to look at covert activity. So, and of course, Congress is split like the American people. You've got some folks who are just fine with bulk data collection. Other folks, I put myself in this camp, who are uncomfortable with it. So in this case, it's not the intelligence community saying we want to keep things secret. It's more the Republicans saying, hey, this board has no business looking at this stuff. I just vehemently disagree. Look, one thing I think we can all agree on, looking back, whatever you think of Edward Snowden, whatever you think of these programs, we have not suffered from a lack of oversight over our surveillance and intelligence community, much the reverse. So I'm saddened that this fight is necessary, but we will wage it today.
What is your take on Edward Snowden? Is he a whistleblower, a patriot, or a criminal?
I must say, and I suppose this statement will not attract a lot of applause amongst your listeners. I would say that if Edward Snowden had taken the route of a traditional practitioner of civil disobedience, that is to say, he'd broken the law and he turned himself in the spirit of Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi, and said, look, I'm breaking the law and I will bear the consequences of doing so, I would think a lot more highly of him than I do. In fact, he stole literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of secrets. Some stuff that has nothing to do with impinging on civil liberties. Some stuff that, if we ever found ourselves in a military conflict, could be, to say the least, inconvenient to have out there. And he went to China and then Russia, two countries which are hardly known for their advocacy for civil liberties. So I guess what I will say for Edward Snowden is that he did start a conversation in this country that is important for us to have, and many people point out that he wouldn't have started that unless he'd done what he did. But look, he fled to two countries that are hardly our friends and hardly avatars of civil liberty. So I kind of wish he'd chosen a different route to act out his conscience.
But I was going to ask you that question. You alluded to it there, that this whole conversation that we've had, the U.S. Freedom Act, which is now passed, the president signed it into law. You know, this P Club, as you call it, their own investigation, the president's own commission that he appointed. None of that would have happened were it not for Edward Snowden's revelation. We wouldn't know still probably today what NSA was up to. So at least he made that contribution, I guess, for which he should get some credit.
Yeah, and it's this is not an easy nor obvious issue, and the only people I get irritated in this debate are those who say that it is easy and obvious. I mean, yes, it's hard not to acknowledge that we wouldn't be having what is an important and robust conversation about the authorities of our intelligence community without some of the releases that Edward Snowden did. Again, I just wish that he hadn't done it in the way that he did it. He has compromised things that have nothing to do with our civil liberties that are really important to the defense of the nation. And, look, taking a big step back here, a system can't run when it relies on the unilateral actions of a 26-year-old. So, again, I am willing to sort of tip my hat to the notion that he got an important civil liberties conversation going. I just wish he'd went about it in a very different way.
I got to ask you a totally unrelated question, Congressman, if you will indulge me for a second, and that is big story this morning. The Pope is scheduled to release his encyclical on the 18th of June, and it's going to be all about climate change. The Pope is coming to this Congress to address a joint session of Congress on September 24, where I would expect he's going to talk about climate change in front of a lot of Republicans who are still climate change deniers. Do you see any hope at all that this Congress might take this issue seriously in our lifetime?
It's sort of a delicious thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
This Pope is causing some right-wingers and some hardcore conservatives a lot of agita. To answer your question, is this Congress suddenly going to wake up as a result of the Pope's actions and start really aggressively acting on climate change? Sadly, no. But I do think, these things, it's a battleship that does turn over time, right? And I do think, and here's why I'm a little bit optimistic, not for this Congress, but for the next 5 to 10 years. The Pope, I think, will be a good icon of the fact that it has always been, or at least in our history, it has always been sort of a key tenet of conservatives that we are stewards of the environment. I mean, you think back to Teddy Roosevelt, you think to Richard Nixon, under whom we passed the Clean Water and Clean Air Act and created the EPA. It has never been a quote-unquote kind of liberal.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Lots of liberals have been preservationists and conservationists over time, but this has always been an instinct that has been very powerful amongst conservatives. And so hopefully when you have a conservative institution like the papacy standing up and saying, hey, we've got a duty to stewardship here, hopefully that begins to change some minds.
Well, coming from California, I can tell you all the founders of the environmental movement in California, they're all Republicans, and it was conservatives, conservation. The two of them went side by side. And
what could be closer?
Yeah. And the Republican Party has just lost that.
The other thing that's going on that is important, it turns out, lo and behold, that places like Alaska and, frankly, my own state of Connecticut, where we got absolutely obliterated by Sandy, I'll tell you, there's some people who are looking at beaches disappearing and scratching their heads and saying, hey, even if they're not inclined to do it, saying, hey, wait, something's going on here.
Some of those big, nice beach homes may be threatened, too. That'll get their attention. Hey, Congressman, good to have you with us. We'll see you back in the studio again one of these days.
Thanks so much, Bill. Take care.
Congressman Jim Himes, Connecticut's 4th Congressional District.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 to help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Here we go now, 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, also from Connecticut, with a totally different point of view on TPP. You bet. She led the charge.
We're fair and balanced here, Bill.
Exactly. She led the charge against it in the House, and she'll tell us where we go from here when we come back at the top of the next hour. Well, they are now 11. Yes, officially, maybe 12 by the end of the day, depending on what Donald Trump says. He could make it an even dozen. Jeb Bush made it 11 yesterday. as expected, he came home from Europe, big rally down in Miami, and said he'd made up his mind.
Our country's on a very bad course, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? The question for me is, what am I going to do about it? And I've decided I'm a candidate for President of the United States of America.
My name is Jeb. With an exclamation point, and I'm a candidate for President of the United States. And he said, I'll tell you, and I'm running against Washington.
We will take Washington, the static capital of this dynamic country, then turn it out of the business of causing problems, and we'll get it back on the right side of free enterprise and freedom for all Americans.
I'll tell you one thing. My name may be Bush, but I'm not one of those Washington elites.
We don't need another president who merely holds the top spot among the pampered elites of Washington. We need a president willing to challenge and disrupt the whole culture in our nation's capital. And I will be that president.
Yep, there he is. His name is not Bush. He knows nothing about Washington. He's not part of the establishment. He's just this maverick outsider who's running for president. Yeah, if you believe that, I got a bridge I'd like to sell you as well. But that seems to be the way he's going to try to paint himself, Peter.
He's going to give it a shot. I mean, it's been successful for people. People don't like Washington. People don't like a lot of the politicians that are out there right now. And I think that it's a winning strategy for a lot of people. I don't think Jeb Bush is one of those people. I don't think he can sell that to people, that he's not a Washington insider, that he comes from a long line of Washington insiders.
He does. He is a classic Washington insider. But for him, it's a way of kind of at one brush dismissing all the Republican senators who are running, because there are
a lot of them running.
By definition, sort of like insiders, if you will, whether it's Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Rand Paul. How many more are there? Well, stay tuned. Yeah. And again, Donald Trump could make it an even dozen today. What's President Obama up to today? We'll let you know when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans, because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Top of the next hour, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut. So the Obamas are all over the place today. The First Lady and the first daughters and the first grandmother are in London, beginning of their little European venture. Then they move on to Milan.
Nice.
I'm not sure whether it's today or tomorrow. President Obama is at the White House, and the Vice President is actually now resuming his schedule after being off for a couple of weeks, dealing with and mourning the loss of his son, Beau. The President and the Vice President get the daily briefing today at 10 o'clock. At 12:30, they will resume their weekly lunches with lunch at the White House. And this afternoon at 5 o'clock, they will be meeting with Defense Secretary Ash Carter. I'll be down at the White House at 12:30 for our daily briefing with Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Back with Rosa DeLauro. Where do we go now from here on trade?
This is the Bill Press Show.
What they told us we were doing was going to rid the state of frivolous lawsuits. So we said, okay, let's vote for this.
Leading up to the 2003 effort in Texas, the insurance companies primarily, but also the medical industry, started this drumbeat. They were alleging that medical malpractice lawsuits were soaring and the cost of healthcare was going way up. They barraged the citizens of Texas with these frightening, scary messages that we were in some sort of crisis. But the reality was that simply wasn't true.
One of the things I think the public doesn't fully understand is that lawsuits are about a lot more than just seeking compensation for an individual plaintiff. By giving damages to the individual, the jury is sending a message about safety to the doctors, the nurses, the hospital. Please change your ways. Make healthcare safer to protect all of us.
Bill and Kelly Putnam experienced a nightmare scenario. They're in the nursing home with their father. The nurse administers medication improperly. As a result, he started to choke on the medication, and Kelly was forced to provide CPR on her father while staff at the nursing home did nothing.
I was probably 6 inches away from my dad's eyes. He's no longer thrashing, he's no longer moving.
And so they took him to the hospital, they worked on him, cause of death, aspiration. Texas Board of Nursing ruled that the nurse not only did what we said she did, But she also said that the facility had her destroy the medical records for that day and create a new version. I decided to give a lawyer friend a call. I went through probably 10, maybe more. All of them I got the same letter back stating that because of tort reform, we cannot afford to litigate these types of cases.
What the 2003 restrictions did was make it economically unfeasible for most attorneys to take most medical malpractice cases. It's a cynical attempt to make it harder for people to go to court by making it harder for them to get representation.
I do remember when Patricia Whitman first contacted me, because as a cardiologist, I was pretty outraged when I looked at the medical records.
Patricia Whitman visited the emergency room complaining of chest pains. They look at her EKG. Doctor says, no, you've got indigestion, go home. The symptoms persist. Next day she goes in, sees a different physician. She's been having a heart attack.
Anyone looking at this EKG in a patient with chest pain has to consider that that patient is having an acute heart attack until proven otherwise. All of these abnormalities were essentially ignored, and a diagnosis of acid reflux was made in Patricia Whitman's case, and that was the wrong diagnosis.
The doctor came in and he said that I had substantial permanent heart damage and that I was, quote unquote, 100% disabled. Prior to the heart attack, I had a 3,500 square foot home that I took care of, and I was on my feet 8 hours a day going to cosmetology school. Then I would come home and cook for my kids and do whatever else needed to be done. I did it all. After the heart attack, I couldn't keep up with the house. I couldn't pay the mortgage. My life has changed a lot. I will never be able to do what I used to do. I have to depend on 5 heart medications that I have to take every day in order to survive. This is a letter from one attorney. It would be difficult to prove that the ER physician's conduct rose to the level of gross negligence. No attorney would take my case.
Tort reform involved a specific passage of language that said that a simple negligence standard no longer applied to emergency room care in Texas. The new standard was a gross negligence standard called willful and wanton negligence.
You have to prove in court that that doctor saw me walk through the door and said, that's my next victim. And of course that doesn't happen. And so people like Patricia Whitman, who find themselves in the emergency room and are misdiagnosed or harmed, face almost no ability for accountability. If you look back and you break down the arguments made by the insurance companies and medical industry about the cost, quality, access of healthcare in Texas, by every metric, we're worse off today than we were 10 years ago. It has made life better and easier for a small group of corporate interests at the expense of the rest of us.
These corporations, they have no fear because they know that they're not going to be held responsible. It shouldn't be about money. But unfortunately, that's the only language these people speak. That's why we're out protesting.
We will stand out on the street in front of the facility with signs that state what happened and make sure that they understand that we're not going to go away and that what they did was wrong.
We must restore meaningful accountability in this state so that another family does not go through the same nightmare that they've been through. If enough people in the public say enough is enough, then politicians have to think twice. We're never going to be able to compete with the special interests in terms of campaign contributions and money. Where we have to compete with them is in boots on the ground. The more people that rise up and say, we want our rights back, then they have to think about it. And once we've made them think about it, then half the battle is won.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
My name is Tropical Storm Bill. And I am slamming the Texas coast. Sorry about that, Texas. Hello, everybody. Here we go. Tuesday, June 16. Good to see you today. Yep. I just had an email from my cousin Marie. It said, poor Texas.
There he goes.
She knows what I'm up to.
Starting trouble again.
We're here with you nationwide, coast to coast, on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Good to see you today, and with lots to talk about. We bring you the Bill Press Show with our team here, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Hey.
Hey, good morning.
Jamie Benson, ready to take your calls. You know, we want you to join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding will keep us looking good on Free Speech and on TawkrTV, our videographer. And don't forget, you can also send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We'll be talking with Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro here right at the top of the hour. And then Justin Sink, White House reporter for Bloomberg News, joins us very, very shortly. Lots to talk about, including the fact Donald Trump may make it an even 12 Republican candidates today. He's going to make his announcement sometime a little bit later, right after the program. We'll get into that, talk to Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Peter.
Just a couple of other stories making news in Trenton, New Jersey. There is a bill that's moving its way through the House and Senate that is going to ban parents from smoking in cars with kids.
Good move. Yes.
Weird to think that that's not already outlawed.
Yeah, I thought it was. But
they want to lead the way on this. It hasn't been signed into law yet, but it is definitely headed that way. The committee approved the bill yesterday.
And where is that again?
In New Jersey.
All right.
In New Jersey. So the bill says if you have a child in your car, even if it's not yours, if you have a child in the car, you can't smoke in the car. So we'll keep an eye on that story. We'll let you know as soon as it passes. You know, Gap, the clothing store, is hitting some rough times. I didn't realize that. They're having a hard time. They announced yesterday they're going to be shutting down 175 stores to try and turn that ship around. They're all going to be the 175 most underperforming stores that they have in their roster. And they said this is going to be a big comeback plan for the business. So they said 5 straight quarters they've posted sales declines.
No, I hadn't heard that about the Gap.
Neither did I.
Yeah, good game.
And, you know, it is a big anniversary here in Washington, D.C. Roll Call magazine is celebrating its 60th anniversary. 60th. And so to celebrate, they brought back a former worker for Roll Call. Guy you might have heard of. His name is Jake Tapper. He used to be a cartoonist,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Tapper is very well known for it. He does some great cartoons, and so he did this huge cartoon for the cover of the Capitol and various sort of characters from the old days of politics. I see Newt Gingrich, I see Teddy Kennedy, there's a George Bush and Bob Dole, all drawn by Jake Tapper. If you go to our Twitter feed at BP Show, you can see the cartoon that Tapper drew there. It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
He launched on Sunday during his show, State of the Cartoonian. So he's doing it every Sunday during his State of the Union address as well. Show.
All right. And 60th anniversary, right?
Yeah, 60th anniversary.
Well, while we are celebrating outstanding people on Capitol Hill, we have a chance to talk to one of our favorites on Capitol Hill. You know, the vote on the trade bill on Friday, some people are calling it a big defeat for President Obama. Another way of looking at it, a big victory, a big win for American workers and for American consumers. And leading the fight against this trade authority and this particular trade deal, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, our good friend and a neighbor on Capitol Hill, joins us on our news line this morning. Congresswoman, congratulations. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you, neighbor. It's great. Thank you so much.
What do you attribute, especially, what turned the tide against the trade bill that the President and Speaker Boehner were pushing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there is a surprise that a majority in the House said no.
Yeah.
But the issue is that what people voted was to stop the fast track process because they no longer believe that we should be making critical decisions for working people that are worked out in a back room with lobbyists for different industries, multinational corporations, while the elected representatives of the ordinary citizens are ignored. And I think what they said, Bill, and I think is really very poignant. The majority of members said that no more business as usual when it comes to these trade agreements. That they do not consider first and foremost the impact on wages, on jobs, and those companies that want to build in the U.S. And what is the impact on inequality? So in my view, this vote last Friday, it was a tipping point, and we can't go back. I also would make one more point to you, that the Democrats are so united on opposing this is a signal of how serious they are on this position.
And what do you say to the critics I've heard who have said, well, this just proves that Democrats are anti-trade?
No, not at all. If anyone has truly followed the issue and the debate, members have been clamoring for months and even years. For me personally, on the food safety issues, I wrote to the U.S. Trade Representative in 2011, again in 2013, to ask to be engaged and involved on the food safety side of these issues, and never heard a word back. Myself and Mary Landrieu and Walter Jones, in a bipartisan way, began to speak about bilateral agreements with Vietnam and Malaysia. So the point is that over and over and over again, Democrats have asked for the opportunity to be engaged and involved in the process, including our colleague Sandy Levin, who you know well.
Sure.
And Sandy, he worked so hard and put together told the administration of his concerns. He brought an alternative that would have addressed a lot of the issues that we have on the agreement. But the majority, the Republican majority in the House, didn't even give him the respect for a vote. So, but Democrats have addressed the issues that we thought ought to be changed, and whether it is environmental issues, labor issues, the investor-state dispute resolution, where foreign corporations can bypass our courts and be able to get rewarded for and challenge our domestic laws. So all of these issues were addressed. Currency manipulation, currency manipulation, where over and over and over again, where you had leading economists say that currency manipulation has been the cause of up to 5 million jobs in the U.S. that have been gone. And each time, Bill, we have been stonewalled. So that's why the understanding is that we're not going to give up our authority that we have by the Constitution to address trade issues. And so that's why you see this united effort against fast track.
Now, I have, I know you have stood with the president on many issues. I remember I was in the East Room of the White House when the president signed the Affordable Care Act, and you were there and very excited about it. Did you have second thoughts about opposing your own president on this issue?
Well, you've said this very well. It's not, so many issues. I go back to the economic recovery program and making sure that we had the opportunity for jobs and refundable tax credits and expansion of, the opportunity for food stamps for people during the recession who were in real difficulty. The Affordable Care Act, all of the work on pay equity, paid sick days, paid leave, all of these efforts. You know, what is it, 90? You can't put a percentage on it. I have a tremendous admiration for the president and a longtime supporter, but we disagree on this. We disagree on this issue, and I have a responsibility because, as I pointed out, this for me is about what is going on for the economic lives of the American workers. The biggest single issue we face today, Bill, is that people are in jobs that don't pay them enough money.
Right.
They're struggling. And how could we then engage in an effort that could only exacerbate this problem? And it's not just rhetorical or made up. There is the facts, the data is all there that demonstrates that the way these agreements have currently been constructed, and this one as well, that it only results in that loss of jobs and the depression of workers' wages. So let's look at, and that's why it's a turning point. It's not. We're not going back. We've said it's no longer business as usual. The trade agreements, the focus of these trade agreements are not special interests, but the focus are the impact on workers in the United States.
Now, is this the end of the road for this particular debate, Congresswoman, or will there be another vote? And how's that? What do you see how that plays out?
Sure. Well, even today, I think what is clear is if the Republican majority last week on Friday called for us to reconsider the vote on the trade adjustment assistance, and but what they are, I think what they wanted to do was to see if they could turn people around, but there was such an overwhelming vote. 302 to 126, that they couldn't do that. So what they have done now is they are going to call today, and they've attached a delay in the vote on the trade adjustment assistance to July 30th, but they've attached that to a rule on the Intelligence Committee. And as you know, normally the minority party votes against the rules, and we are the minority party. But I think it is clear that they can't turn votes around, and Democrats are not turning their votes around. So it is still to come, but I continue to feel confident that given the strength of opposition and quite frankly, opposition on both sides of the aisle, that there is, and particularly for Democrats. Democrats are so united in opposing this that it is, they're not going to go back to say, and that's why they're going to say no to fast track.
Would you see a possibility if there were, if Congress had a real role in shaping a trade bill or a trade deal, and it were not such a secret deal, and there were real written protections and enforcement in it to protect workers and to protect the environment, that it's possible to have a new trade deal with Asia?
Absolutely. And that is what, when so many of us have been, criticized for being non-thinking or, just opposed to everything. That's not the case. In my own case, I voted for WTO. I voted for the Chile agreement. But the issue is, and that's what we have been asking for all along, with both the fast-track process and the agreement itself, that what we wanted to try to do is to change the agreement, make it possible for the United States to expand trade, become stronger economically, while raising the living standards for the middle class.
Right.
That is what this is all about. And we have, as I said, tried over and over and over again, not just in the last few weeks, the last few months, but in the last couple of years we have been clamoring to be able to do that, and at every point we were stonewalled.
Well, I hope that would be the focus. Now, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro. Congratulations again on your proud and courageous leadership on this issue. We look forward to seeing you back here in studio pretty soon. Thanks, Congresswoman.
Would love to do it and see you in the hood.
All right, see you in the hood. Right, exactly. By the way, on this issue, check out my column in the Hill today, and we'll tweet it out too. It's at thehill.com, where I make the point that, yes, we could have a new trade deal for Asia, which is very, very important if the president will start working with Democrats in Congress, like Rosa DeLauro and Nancy Pelosi, instead of working against them.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, my fellow Americans, we're taking a little time out here just to give you a chance to pick up the phone and make your pledge to Free Speech TV. You know what it's all about. You can go to 877-378-8669 or just go to freespeech.org. But we need you to make your pledge. We're winding up our spring pledge drive. And you know how important it is. We tell you every day. We're here with you on Free Speech TV, but we depend on you to keep it going. And a lot of you ask about, what do we do? How do we put this show together every day? I don't know. Peter Ogburn is a guy who knows.
Hi, Bill.
Hello, Peter. So it's a lot of work putting 3 hours together every day.
It is a lot of work to put this show together.
I credit you and Elisa for doing it. So when do we get started?
Well, we love doing this show. We love having the freedom to do this show the way that we do it. We work all day. We try
Which wouldn't be possible except on Free Speech.
There's no way. I mean,
Right.
We've done this for 10 years now.
Yes.
And the way that we do the show now is so great because we have the freedom to do whatever we want.
Right.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. But we spend all week long. We're calling guests. We're booking guests. We're looking for stories. We're always in constant contact. We have conference calls the day before the show, and then we meet before the show to sort of lay everything out. And one of the things that's been so refreshing to me about all this is it's us. We all get to put this together here with the Bill Press Show team. We've worked together long enough. We know what we're looking for, and we're able to have that freedom here on the great Free Speech TV.
Right. And I go to the White House every day, which brings new stuff in.
Absolutely.
Go to different events. Last night I was hanging out with Justice Sonia Sotomayor and be able to talk to her about, for example, the big healthcare case coming down from the Supreme Court. She didn't tell me how they're going to rule, but so we're on it, and the team, as Peter mentions, it's all of us. We put it all together, but it's all of us and you. I mean, that's the important thing because it's as simple as that. There wouldn't be any free speech without you. So we need your help. You got look at poor Peter. You got to help him out here. I mean, yeah. Right. I mean, come on.
Give with your hearts, people. Give with your hearts.
Keep Peter on the job. And Elisa.
I have kids.
And Jamie and Cyprian and me and all the rest of our great hosts on Free Speech TV. Again, the number is 877-378-8669. Seriously, this is very, very, very important. We depend on your help. No corporate money. I could tell you that all the time. That's so important. No Koch brothers money, no corporate money, just you. And you got those great gifts coming. We'll give you that little stamp for $60. No, you can't use to bribe politicians, however. For $120, a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy. For $240, Dollarocracy and the stamp. And for $360, you get the stamp and the book and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. You wear that baseball cap to Washington, D.C. If you help us with $1,000, then Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you in to meet Peter and Elisa and the whole gang here. So we need your help and appreciate very much those of you who have already made your pledge. And those of you who haven't, now's the time. Step up to the plate and swing away today. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Justin Sink covers the White House for Bloomberg News. Joins me at the briefings every day. He'll be here in studio with us in the next half hour. Up to date on a couple of issues up in New York State. Still no sign of the escaped prisoners, but there is new news today that Joyce Tilly Mitchell, the woman who is now under arrest and in jail for having aided the two escapees by bringing some tools into the prison for them, it turns out that she was also sexually involved with both of those prisoners. That has been reported. So this story gets more complicated.
The plot thickens.
Every day, the plot thickens, is right. And she was also, remember, going to have the getaway car. That was plan A, and then she had second thoughts and said she still loved her husband, so she decided change her plans.
Man, it's just such a crazy story.
I know. Might have saved her life by not showing up.
Really and truly.
With the two murderers.
Right.
Yeah, what was she thinking? At any rate, love is blind. And on the other coast, Rachel Dolezal, the black-white, who knows, head of the NAACP, has resigned. She did not end up giving a talk last or explaining her situation. I said she resigned. But she showed up on the Today Show this morning with Matt Lauer, still basically kind of sticking to her guns.
Let me just ask you the question in simple terms again, because you've sent mixed signals over the years. Are you an African-American woman?
I identify as black.
I identify as black. I thought there was more to being black than identifying as black.
I mean, just because you say that, does that mean that it's true? Right?
That's what I mean.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, exactly.
You may identify as black, but you ain't black.
Right.
Right?
That's like me.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I'm American Samoan. I identify as American Samoan. I say that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I see that.
Shut up.
I identify as Latino.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You identify as not
all
true.
Right. Muchas gracias. Hasta la vista,
This
baby.
is the Bill Press Show.
Never know how. So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, you know, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country, during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though, we get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together. Had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, the Bill Press Show. Tropical Storm Bill, that's what we're calling it this morning. Slamming the Texas coast. Sorry about that. Here from in our nation's capital, we are reaching out to you coast to coast, and brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees. They do great work staffing our federal agencies under President J. David Cox. Proud to work for America every day, and you can find out more about their good work at their website, afge.org. afge.org. President Obama, with not a lot on his schedule today, but getting ready for a big trip to the West Coast, and dogging the president every step of the way in Los Angeles and San Francisco and later in Palm Springs. Justin Sink, White House reporter for Bloomberg News, in studio with us this morning. Hello, Justin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Everything good?
Yeah, other than this heat out here, man. The humidity and the heat is so horrible.
Look, it is Washington. This is the summer. Well, not quite, but getting into it, right?
So. Yeah, well, for me, the worst that I ever had it was when I was in college. I'd have winters in Chicago's and summers in Washington, which I think is the worst combination of everything. So at least I don't have that still, but it is it's rough out there.
Yeah,
man.
It is. Well, you know what? What's really good when it gets so hot like that to cool you down is a nice cool beer, right?
Or 3, I would say.
Okay, yeah. So, Justin, we know you weren't able to make our party on Saturday.
Yeah, the big Bill Press
we
party.
Thought of you because you were out of town. We thought of you.
We brought in a bunch of beers from Blue Jacket right there.
Oh, we have one left over. This is for Justin.
Wow, thank you, guys.
How's that? A good size, huh?
Looks good. Yeah, absolutely. Blue Jacket's amazing.
Let me see. I can't remember what kind this is. We lost the label.
The problem is we lost the label, right? So I'm looking.
This does look like something from like an old movie that you would poison a villain with.
Yeah, it's great. And then after you drink it, you can use it to just mollywop your villains over the head
absolutely,
with it.
Absolutely. But thank you guys so much. I'm sorry to have missed it. I was out on the Eastern Shore where it was not quite as muggy as it is here with some friends.
Whoa. If you were at the Eastern Shore, that means you also were not at the Prince party at the White House.
I know. Somehow my invitation got lost in the mail.
South Lawn.
I know.
This is how could you have that big a party with Prince and Stevie Wonder and have it a secret? What was this, an NSA party?
Yeah, well, it's pretty amazing that more details didn't come out. I know that there were some grumblings maybe on Friday, although Prince has been apparently doing these shows up and down all over the country where he'll just pop up and a couple days before he'll sell tickets and they'll sell out in 90 seconds and then he does a show. But there are actually some kind of legitimate questions about this. The first family had 500 people over, very clearly.
No, was it that big?
It was 500 people, and very clearly, despite Josh Earnest's insistence that this was, a personal party done with close friends. There were
500.
Yeah, exactly.
Friends.
And there were lobbyists in there. There were corporate executives. And the sort of trick that the White House pulls is when somebody is there for a personal visit, they are not entered into the White House visitors logs, which are, the president's big step towards transparency and what they always tout as why they are the most transparent administration in history. And so
we're going to make sure we put big air quotes around that every time we say it, by the way, right? The most transparent administration.
I can't believe there were 500 people there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I do believe it, but it's just, that is not a private party.
No, and it's media celebrities. And,
right.
Russell Wilson from the Seahawks was tweeting pictures from in front of the... I don't think Russell Wilson and Barack Obama are hanging out too often one-on-one. And so... It just does raise a lot of kind of interesting questions about transparency and about influence and lobbying. I mean, and I don't think anybody was really kind of getting after Obama on the trade deal while Purple Rain was going. But at the same time, it's it is very interesting and it is something that
if you have a state dinner, the White House, right? We know everybody was there at the state dinner, and it's very instructive to see who's been invited, either from Congress or from the private sector or from the media, whatever, or from the embassies, right? The same thing with this party. There's, I don't think there's any excuse for their not revealing the guest list of this party.
It's one thing if the Obamas want to have some people over for dinner. I don't think anybody would begrudge them or even have some celebrities over. But it's when it turns into what is very clearly sort of an event and an exclusive event hosted at the White House, I think that there should be a higher bar for transparency, and it was a little disappointing to not see that.
Amen to that. But let me also add that there must have been a deal with the people who were invited that they can't say that they were there. I mean, I do know a couple of people who were there. They told me. But, I mean, these people are not out bragging about the fact they went to this party.
Some of them were, though, on Twitter.
Really?
Al Sharpton was up on Twitter tweeting about how great it was to see Stevie and Prince, on the keyboards together. We saw Russell Wilson, like I said,
he's
taking
in the
pictures.
media. But of the 500 people, how many people, right?
The page 6, the New York Post was on top of this party. I will give them credit for that. And they had a long list of guest names. They had dozens of people, and so I think, even if people aren't necessarily talking too publicly about it, they certainly haven't been afraid of saying that they got to see a very private Prince concert with the president.
Yeah. It doesn't add up to me that the White House would not release a list of the guest. It does make me wonder who was on that list that they didn't want us to know about. Somebody.
Bill Ayers was back. Secret meeting.
Yeah.
Or the Reverend
Jeremiah Wright. Jeremiah Wright was back in the mix.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It was Saturday.
Radio.
They were not celebrating a big victory for the president Saturday night as well, at any rate, right? They were suffering a pretty humiliating defeat on the trade bill.
Yeah, I mean, last week was a tough one for the president.
And the president's statement afterwards, I thought, was kind of bizarre. He sort of was crowing the fact that Republicans and Democrats both voted to support the trade bill. He lost.
Yeah, I do think that, I don't know why I'm granting the White House any sort of kudos on this, because undeniably they were dealt a big blow. The one positive sign for the White House towards the trade bill, I think, was that they got enough votes for the underlying TPA legislation, which was a big question for weeks ahead of the vote.
Right.
They didn't know if they'd get enough
but
Democrats.
It didn't go anywhere because they didn't get the other vote.
Exactly. And so now they are in a tough procedural game, and I think they whether it was Republicans who figured out how they were going to stage this legislation or the White House and what they asked for, have really kind of put themselves into a bind because the Democrats who don't want this legislation have incredible leverage and have been able to block it so far. We heard last night that House Speaker John Boehner is going to extend the deadline from today until July 30th, which gives another month or so of time for the president to try to rally Democratic support back behind this. But I think the more time that the White House has, the tougher that the sort of threading of the needle that they're trying to do, which is to say to Democrats, you're just voting on this trade assistance package, even though you are effectively voting on the full fast-track authority. I think that becomes a harder argument to make because lawmakers are going to look at this. They're going to hear from labor. You're also giving the AFL-CIO and real opponents of the trade 6 weeks to tell Democrats, you are voting on fast-track authority. You're voting on a trade deal. You're not voting on just this assistance part. And I think that the other thing is that Democrats, we heard from Nancy Pelosi that she kind of wanted to maybe couple in the highway bill with this. I think there are a big chunk of Democrats who think we're going to get trade assistance if we ever pass this thing, and what else can we get? Mm-hmm. And that's something that the White House has to figure out where they stand on.
Your former employer, The Hill, Scott Wong was here yesterday morning and told us by their count, and they've been keeping a very accurate count.
Whip count, yeah.
A whip count. That by their count, the president would have to turn around 85 Democrats.
Yeah.
That's a huge mountain to climb.
The one question is whether they can get Republicans in line. House leadership has told us at Bloomberg they don't think that there are any more Republican votes to go get. But there is a question of if you're a Republican who voted for TPA, the underlying fast-track authority, and you know that you have to get this TAA to get it across, do you hold your nose and vote for assistance to workers that you don't want to do, although it's hard to imagine that you'll be too punished for offering assistance to workers. And that's another possibility. So you heard Labor Secretary Perez over the weekend say the White House thinks there are multiple avenues to success here. That might be true, but the other side of this is that we haven't heard what those avenues are clearly articulated, certainly from the White House.
And I'll say, once the Democrats made a decision, right, they're going to stick with the opposition, organized labor, because whatever they think this is just a bad deal for American workers. It would be very tough for them then to say, okay, I changed my mind.
Yeah, I do think that the White House is right that there's a group that is willing, but I don't know if it's as many as they need.
Right. And two other big items on the president's legacy list, if you will. Also, everything's crashing down this month of June. Will be decided, or could be, by the end of the month, and that is the Supreme Court on the Affordable Care Act and not the framework now, but the real deal on Iran on nuclear weapons. Justin Sink on top of it all here with us. Give us a call. We want to join the conversation. Have a question or a comment at 866-55-PRESS. Justin Sink from Bloomberg News, Bloomberg.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, You are Free Speech TV. We are, you are. There ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour here on Tuesday, June 16. Justin Sink covers the White House for Bloomberg News here in studio with us. And I'm jealous. By the way, can we say it again? Blackhawks.
Yeah, shout out.
Oh,
congratulations.
Absolutely
good
incredible.
Friends at WCPT in Chicago.
All of our good friends out in WCPT. Everybody in Chicago, very, very excited today. It's
probably
great.
waking up hungover right around now.
I hope so.
Celebrating.
I hope so. Yep. Over the Lightnings, 2-1 yesterday. What's this, the third title in a row, or their third title in
6 years?
Yeah, they're a powerhouse, man.
They really, really are a powerhouse. So congrats, and enjoy the celebration. Keep the celebration going. Justin, I'm a little jealous. The president is going to my country, to L.A., to San Francisco, to Palm Springs, end of the week, and you are going with him.
Yeah, it should be an interesting trip. And
what's it all about?
Well,
Just
I think it's really all about fundraising, to be honest. But he in San Francisco will be attending the Conference of Mayors, which is an event that he kind of goes to every year, but I think is kind of gained a special importance more lately because the White House has been working directly with mayors, with local elected officials on at least a pair of the president's initiatives. One is the minimum wage.
Minimum wage, sure.
That's been a big push, and you've seen in Los Angeles, for instance, they've implemented a minimum wage hike that'll go into effect in 2020.
Right.
You've seen cities kind of across the country work to up their minimum wage. The other thing the president's been working on is police tactics, and this has obviously been a big issue because we've had a series of high-profile incidences, and the White House is trying to bring some best practices and ideas, funding for body cameras, kind of across the board, ways that the president thinks he can address some of these issues.
Right. So that explains Los Angeles and San Francisco. Why Palm Springs?
There's a wonderful golf course in Palm Springs. The president's going to spend Father's Day weekend trotting up and down while we sit out in 110-degree weather, and hopefully there's a nice clubhouse with the golf course too. Yeah,
there will be. This is the Annenberg course. It's a private golf course on the Annenberg estate. By the way, the First Lady and the First Daughters will be in Europe. The First Lady landed in London Yes, she's already.
I think last night our time, the morning there, and is actually announcing kind of an interesting initiative, $200 million from the U.S. and U.K. governments, both to help fund girls' education in the developing world. And so that's kind of an interesting initiative that dovetails with some of her interests, and is interesting to see.
By the way, I just happened to be talking with, checking in with Mark Knoller, our friend, who is sort of the unofficial. We haven't had him on the show in a while. We have to get him back on the show.
We should reach out.
But unofficial record keeper at the White House for CBS Radio, and he works for CBS Radio. As the president has played 2 rounds of golf as president. That's just in the last 6 years, right?
Boy,
6.5 years.
That's a lot of golf, man.
4 times has he played with members of Congress. Maybe the vote on the TPP might have been a little different.
I mean, to go back to that Prince concert, one question for Josh: can help influence votes and help win people over?
I bet the answer was no.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the answer from Josh was, we don't have a guest list for you. But, showing up for the congressional baseball game for a half inning, the 12 hours before the vote is not, we saw what the results of that were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious what was happening there.
Yeah, right. What does a read of Bloomberg on the Iran nuclear deal? Secretary Kerry insists that he has not missed a beat. And I believe him. I mean, he's a bear on this stuff. But it's a complicated issue. 5 countries involved. They're going to get a deal?
Well, I think our sense from the White House is they think that it's more likely than not going to happen, but that it's far from being certain. Maybe around 60-40 if you're going to put odds on it. And by the way,
it doesn't have to be a perfect, complete, every detailed document. It's just that at least there's an agreement, right?
Exactly.
Basic agreement.
But I think the real catch for the White House is before they start lifting sanctions, because that is the huge piece of leverage that the U.S. and the rest of the world holds over Iran right now, and something that their political leaders have really promised their people. I mean, they are in kind of over a barrel on, we're going to lift these sanctions, we're going to kind of jumpstart our economy. Before they do that, they need to see some concrete sort of action by the Iranians, both so that they know that they are an actor that can be trusted, and to kind of really tangibly scale back their nuclear program. And the real question is just whether the Iranian leadership is cohesive enough and dedicated enough to that to make it happen. And I think nobody really knows until we get a deal announced, and then it actually starts happening.
Big month for the president with the Iran deal and the ACA in front of the Supreme Court and the trade deal in Congress. Justin Singh keeps people like you and me busy. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great trip to California.
Thank you.
All right, say hello from me. I'll be back with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Oh, yes, this is the day that history will be made. We will know soon whether or not he is going to run. The Donald, of course. I mean, he's certainly been at it before. 1988 is when he first started talking about running for president. And then again in 2000, he talked about it in 2006 and 2014 both. He said he was going to run for governor of New York, never did. And in 2012 again, the last time around, he teased about running for president, but did not. This time, I just hope he really finally does it. Donald Trump, Republican candidate. That's enough to drive any self-respecting Republican crazy. Keep your fingers crossed. Come back and see us again tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.